What up, dude bros? I'm Frank. This is another series overview. In this episode, I'm overviewing the Elite 2.0 series revised for 2023. General intro to Elite 2.0, brief summary on every blaster available, firing demo, and then I'll end with my top picks. Table of contents available if you want to skip through. So what is Elite 2.0? It's supposed to be the successor to the original Elite series. However, to anybody in the know, it is by no means a successor. It's absolutely a step down from the original Elite. With Elite 2.0 blasters, you can expect a noticeable drop in fit and finish and quality. They do not feel like Nerf brand blasters. They feel more like Busby crap. The plastics just aren't as good. Many of the blasters are clipped and glued together. They tried to cut costs and they made a cheaper product that feels cheaper. But other than that, the general idea of Elite 2.0 is very similar to Elite. They shoot standard Elite darts. Most Elite 2.0 blasters comes with some blue ones and some orange ones. But old Elite darts, modulus darts, and all of the Elite form factor darts will fit into the Elite 2.0 blasters. And for Elite 2.0, the magazines, the stock attachment, the barrel attachment, and the tactical rails are compatible with Elite, modulus, and the other Nerf brand attachments. The expected velocity of Elite 2.0 is similar to Elite. It's about 70 FPS for primaries. For sidearms and emergency blasters, you can shoot 55 to 60 FPS, a little slower than the primaries. But no change there, pretty much the same as Elite. That's a brief intro to Elite 2.0. Now I will summarize each blaster individually. This is a brief summary. If you want more information on any one of these blasters, type the blaster name into my channel and you can watch the dedicated video review I probably already have on the blaster. Point of this series is just to get you acclimated to what Elite 2.0 has to offer. Starting out with the main springers, first up is the Commander. The Commander is a spring-powered, top-prime, slam-fire-enabled, 6-round cylinder-fed blaster. This is a built-in cylinder. It's not removable. It's not magazine-fed. This blaster has a muzzle velocity of 76 feet per second, which is pretty good for Elite 2.0. Stock attachment point, barrel attachment point allows this to become more of a primary if you want it, or it can be smaller like a pistol. That is the Commander. Next up is the Echo. The Echo is a spring-powered, top-prime, slam-fire-enabled, magazine-fed blaster. It includes the 10-rounder, but it's compatible with the longer in-strike magazines as well. The stock is removable, the barrel is removable, so you can break it down if you'd like to, or customize it with different stock and barrel add-ons. Muzzle velocity of 79 feet per second, which is pretty hot for an Elite 2.0 blaster. This is more of an entry-level blaster if you're just getting into Nerf and you want a Springer. That is the Echo. Echo. Next up is the Trailblazer. The Trailblazer is a spring-powered hammer-action cylinder-fed blaster with an 8-round capacity. If you've ever used the Zombie Strike hammer shot, it is similar, but it has a higher capacity of 8 rounds. Muzzle velocity of about 69 giggity feet per second, which is a little low for primaries, but for a pistol, that's just fine. Pretty solid if you're looking for hammer action. That is the Trailblazer. Next up is the Shockwave. The Shockwave is spring-powered pump action with a 15-round built-in cylinder. Single fire only, even though it definitely looks like it should have slam fire, and muzzle velocity of 62 FPS, which is definitely low for an Elite 2.0 primary. Especially if you're playing against a dart zone blaster, you're going to get stomped. But in-strike barrel lugs, stock attachment point, tack rails, you can accessorize it if you want to. I think most people buy this one because it looks intimidating and then they use it and they're like, wow, all bark and no bite, man. But it is what it is. That is the Shockwave. Next up is the Warden. The Warden is a spring-powered pump-action system with an 8-shot Smart AR system. It's very similar to the Rough Cut in the sense that it has a 2-stage trigger allowing you to fire 2 shots at once per prime. Or you can pull the trigger halfway and then all the way and shoot one at a time. Muzzle velocity of about 68 feet per second, which is acceptable given its class. However, I don't recommend anyone buy a Warden at all because it's an absolute piece of trash. Hasbro engineered this thing to fail to make it break a few months into usage, so you'd have to go out and buy another one. Terrible move. I do not respect it at all, but this is not built to last. I've broken 2 in testing and other YouTubers have also broken them. Absolute piece of crap. Save your money. Don't buy a Warden. But that is the Warden. Next up is the Eagle Point. The Eagle Point is a spring-powered side prime 8-shot blaster that features a built-in cylinder. 73 FPS muzzle velocity, which is pretty acceptable. This is more of an entry-level or a plinker toy because it has a fixed capacity of 8 rounds without the ability to quickly reload with external box magazines. And it's obviously a primary, so an 8-shot primary, meh. I mean, it's not 2005. That doesn't really fly now. But it works. So for Elite 2.0, that's good enough, I guess. Wow, how far Hasbro has fallen in our expectations for them. That is the Eagle Point. Next up is the Ranger. The Ranger is a spring-powered pump-action 5-shot Smart AR system. This blaster only shoots 1 at a time, but you can load up to 5 front-loading barrels all at once. Pump action with slam fire and a chrono average of about 69 giggity feet per second. Stock attachment point if you want it to feel more like a primary, but again, this is kind of an entry-level one. If you're hardcore enough to watch videos like this, you should probably go and buy a better blaster than this one. People buy this when they don't know what they're looking at Target. That is the Ranger. Next up is the Flip 8. This blaster is a spring-powered bottom prime blaster like that, but the Flip blasters have a very cool feature. So it has 4 available barrels. It shoots 1 at a time with a Smart AR system, but then once you shoot your 4 barrels, you pull back on this and flip it to a new set of 4 barrels. So you can have 8 barrels loaded at a time, which is pretty cool. It's a total gimmick. It's not really that battle effective. It would be better to have both barrel systems sitting next to each other, but it's very cool and it actually works pretty well. So this one's a fun gimmicky blaster to play with. Muzzle velocity of 61 FPS, not really battle effective, but again, this blaster's not really trying to be a battle effective blaster. That is the Flip 8. Next up is the Flip 16. This blaster is similar to the Flip 8 in the sense that it has a rotating flipping barrel system, but this one is cool because it has a 2-stage trigger, just like the Rough Cut and the Warden. So after you prime it using the side prime system like that, you can pull the trigger all the way and shoot 2 darts at once like a shotgun, or you can halfway pull the trigger and just shoot one and then finish the trigger pull to shoot the other. 8 barrels up front, and then once you empty those, you flip this around and you can show 8 more. 16 barrels, hence its name, the Flip 16. And it's got a pretty cool stock too, which is fun to play with. Muzzle velocity of only 55 feet per second, which isn't stellar, but a lot of Nerf shotguns do shoot considerably slower than their single shot counterparts, so that's sort of normal. That is the Flip 16. Next up is the Flip 32. This blaster is spring powered, lever action, that's how you prime it, and this has the 2-stage trigger system just like the Flip 16 and just like a Rough Cut. So after you prime it once, you can pull the trigger halfway to just shoot once, or pull it all the way and shoot 2 at once. And this blaster has 16 barrels showing, and then you flick this handle back to spin it, and then you have 16 more. 32 barrels total, hence the name Flip 32. Muzzle velocity of only 56 feet per second, which is again pretty low for a primary, but for a shotgun, it technically is a shotgun. It can shoot 2 at once. That is kind of okay, I guess. Nothing to write home about. It's not really a battle effective blaster. This is a really fun one to use though. Lever action is just fun to play with, and the rotation system works surprisingly well given how big it is. Definitely a gimmicky blaster, but still fun to use. That is the Flip 32. Those are the main springers. Now I'm moving into the flywheel blasters within the Elite 2.0 series. First up, the Phoenix. The Phoenix is a flywheel-powered, magazine-fed semi-auto blaster. It's very similar to the Strife. It includes a 6-round in-strike magazine, but it's compatible with the other in-strike magazines if you want to have a higher capacity mag, which with semi-auto, you definitely want a higher capacity mag. Muzzle velocity of 71 feet per second, which is perfectly acceptable for Nerf Elite. While it looks fairly similar to the Strife, the weighting and balance of this one is a little bit different than the Strife. I don't think this runs as well as a pistol, just holding it with one hand like this. If you're not putting a stock and barrel on it, I think the Strife is much better. This one works better if you put on a stock, you put on a barrel, and you really intend to have your left hand up here on the batteries. A lot of the weight is up front, it's just a little front heavy holding it with one hand. But I'm biased, I like the Strife. I'm gonna pick the Strife over this one every time. But that is the Phoenix. Next up is the Turbine. The Turbine is a flywheel powered magazine fed blaster that is fully automatic. It's similar in that sense to the Nerf Rapid Strike. It includes an 18-round magazine, which I can't find, so this is just a 12-rounder, but it is compatible with most of the other in-strike mags that I tried it with. Chrono average of 75 feet per second, which is pretty good. It's worth noting the rate of fire out of this is a little bit faster than the Rapid Strike and the Hyperfire, and it's a little bit sleeker and easier to run. It's a smaller package than the Rapid Strike and the Hyperfire. The magazine release is kind of annoying. That's the biggest con I have on this blaster, but everything else is pretty solid. That is the Turbine. Next up, the Moto Blitz. The Moto Blitz is 2 blasters in one. The main blaster is a flywheel-powered, magazine-fed semi-auto blaster back here. This operates similar to the Nerf Raven because it's a bullpup. But up here, the white part here is an integrated air tank blaster that's a shotgun. It shoots 6 darts all at once as a shotgun, which is a super cool integration. Because it comes out of the factory like this, and because it's not an in-strike attachment like in the Modulus series, this thing is really stable, making this a very unique, very practical Nerf blaster. It holds well, it's fun to use. You have your flywheel blaster, most of the time you'll be using this, and then if you turn a corner or something and you need that shotgun, that's almost a guaranteed hit within 20 feet. It includes a 10-round magazine for the primary blaster, and again, the shotgun shoots 6 at once. The main flywheel blaster has a chrono average of 69 giggity feet per second, and the shotgun shoots about 59 feet per second. 59 feet per second is lower than average for a primary, but for a shotgun, that's pretty good. And that's 6 darts all traveling 59 feet per second, which is pretty cool. Very unique, specialized blaster, but very fun. That is the Moto Blitz. And last for the flywheelers is the Storm Charge. This blaster is flywheel-powered, semi-auto, magazine-fed. It's very similar to the Phoenix, which is similar to the Strife, but the Storm Charge is much better than the Phoenix in my opinion. The ergonomics and how this one holds is just better. The Phoenix is kind of awkward. I was surprised that Hasbro came out with this one, but I'm very glad that they did. It includes a 10-round magazine, and it gets a chrono average of about 70 feet per second. It includes a barrel and a stock, but I can't find them right now. That is the Storm Charge. That is it for the flywheel blasters in the Elite 2.0 series. Now I'll get into some small, or quite frankly just BS blasters that nobody really cares about. Nerf took a bunch of these crap designs that they had in the Alpha Strike series and then threw them into the Elite 2.0 series for whatever reason. So none of these are really worth talking about, but I'm going to talk about them anyways. First is the Trio. This is a 3-shot front-loading smart AR system, very similar to the Elite Triad. Bottom prime Springer shoots 1 at a time with 3 barrels. 62 FPS muzzle velocity, which is actually decent for a backup. I think the ergonomics on this one are weird. I much prefer the Elite Triad, but that is the Trio. Next up is the Volt. This is a spring-powered front-loading single-shot blaster that's rear prime. It has a little laser system. I bought 2 of these and neither of mine work. I don't know why. It's the same concept as the old Night Finder. 70 FPS muzzle velocity, which is decent for a pistol. Pretty boring. You only buy this because you think it looks cool and you're just doing very mild target shooting or plinking. That is the Volt. Next up is the Ace. This is the Elite 2.0 Jolt, of course. This is a spring-powered bottom prime single-shot blaster. This is an emergency backup pistol, which is considerably girthier and thicker than the Jolt. 59 FPS muzzle velocity. That is the ace. I think you should go buy a Jolt. It's a better blaster. Next up is the Quad Fire. This blaster is a spring-powered rear prime, front-loading blaster with a 4-shot Smart AR system. It reminds me a lot of the Zombie Strike Quadrot, but this blaster is bulkier, harder to holster, and just less comfortable. 68 FPS muzzle velocity, which is decent for this class. But if you want something like this, check out the Zombie Strike Quadrot. I think it's a better form factor, which is a little more practical. And this has the Elite 2.0 plastic, which just doesn't feel good. But that is the Quad Fire. Up next is the Technician. This is a spring-powered pump-action 2-shot Smart AR system blaster. An absolute gimmicky piece of trash sold only to people who have no idea what they're buying. 72 FPS muzzle velocity, which is fine. Stock attachment point, which is cool. But whatever, it's so big and bulky for just a 2-shot blaster that doesn't shoot very well. But that is the Technician. Next up is the Operator. Spring-powered rear pull-to-prime right here. 2-shot Smart AR system, very similar to the Technician. Operator is like the worst possible name Hasbro could have possibly given this piece of crap blaster. There's nothing operator-y about this blaster at all. But it's a really big and bulky 2-shot Jolt. That is the Operator. Next is the Prospect. Spring-powered rear pull-to-prime 4-shot front-loading Smart AR system. 68 FPS muzzle velocity. And if you can tell, a lot of these designs are just regurgitations of existing designs within the Elite 2.0 series. Hasbro doesn't even have the courtesy of taking old designs that we forgot about. They take designs from the existing series, repaint them, add stupid scopes, then they're like, hey, consumers, it's a whole new thing. You're dumb. You don't know what we're doing. We give it a new name. You give us your money. Nah. Freaking Hasbro. But whatever. That is the Prospect. And last blaster is the Tetrad. Spring-powered, pump-action, 4-shot Smart AR system blaster. 63 FPS. It's an oversized Quadrot. If you want a 4-shot Springer, go buy a Quadrot. Doesn't need to be this miniature little whatever this is. But that is the Tetrad. That is a brief summary of all the Elite 2.0 blasters I've reviewed so far. Now I'll show you all the blasters firing. That is the firing for the Elite 2.0 series overview. If you'd like a more elaborate firing analysis on any one blaster, again, check out the video review I have on those blasters. So now on to my top picks. For Elite 2.0, I have 4 top picks. First top pick, the Turbine. This is a top pick because it's a very effective full-auto magazine-fed blaster. Biggest con about the blaster is the magazine release, which I complained about in the review, but if you can get past that, the rest of it has something to offer that is different than the Rapid Strike. Slightly higher rate of fire, and it's slightly slimmer and smaller. It's not going to be right for every situation. Many times you'd want a Rapid Strike or something else, but in certain circumstances, the Turbine is the way to go. That is why it's made my top pick list. Next Elite 2.0 top pick, the Trailblazer. This is on my top pick list because it's a nice high-capacity hammer action blaster which you can use with one hand. If you like the hammer shot but 5 rounds isn't enough, this is great because it has 8, and the barrels are very close to each other, so it has a very high capacity given its overall width, which is nice to see. It's a little longer than it needs to be, and the grip is a little bit uncomfortable, but there's still a lot of value here, and overall this is a very usable blaster. And I don't know why they didn't put an in-strike rail on the top. They only put one on the bottom. But that is the Trailblazer. Next top pick is the Storm Charge. This is on my top pick list because I like the Strife, and this is like the Elite 2.0 Strife. This is more comfortable than the Phoenix, and now that this is out, I don't see any reason at all to buy the Phoenix. The Storm Charge is a pretty solid primary option if you're looking for an Elite 2.0 blaster. You can customize the stock, the barrel, the optic, the different magazine, all the normal stuff that you can with in-strike blasters. I personally am still going to pick the Strife because I'm super biased. I love the Strife. My hands are just very familiar with the Strife. I've used it for years and years. But it's still a pretty solid option if you can't find a Strife. So that is the Storm Charge. And my last top pick is actually my favorite top pick for the Elite 2.0 series. The Moto Blitz. The Moto Blitz is my personal favorite blaster in the Elite 2.0 series. It has a very functional utility-based primary, flywheel, semi-auto, magazine-fed blaster, and it has a very functional integrated shotgun unit. It's slim, it's attached very firmly, it's not like the modulus shotgun attachment which would rattle around on your barrel. This is super strong, the performance is good, it shoots 6 darts all at once, which is a very effective shotgun in Nerf. Now bullpups aren't for everyone, they take a little getting used to because it is a little bit weird to hold it, but once you get used to it, you have your standard flywheeler, and you can kind of forget about the shotgun because it's not really in your way. It's not bulky, it's not heavy, it's not loose and rattly, so you can just use your flywheeler as you normally would, but then when you need your shotgun, it's there. Very effective, very fun, very war practical, and it looks super cool. That is my last top pick and my favorite blaster in the Elite 2.0 series, the Moto Blitz. So that's it for this series overview. Hopefully you have a better understanding of what Elite 2.0 has to offer. Thanks so much for watching, bros, and as always, stay tactical.